hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very, very good. We're in exciting times. For me, it's really exciting because what I've been saying for 5 months is now happening. So that makes you feel an awful lot better because 5 months ago, everyone thought I was nuts.
Yes.
So it's very rewarding to see it all unfolding, and also just to see the dying fight of the mainstream media and the deep state and the cabal fighting like dogs to try and save their name. When I saw that Sky News and also Forbes were both saying, you don't need to go out and look for the truth. You come to us. You realize they're deep in trouble.
Yes.
And they're telling you not to go and search for your own truth.
Yeah. Desperate times, desperate measures.
Exactly. It's a wonderful time, and it's wonderful to see what's happening, especially with the banking sector, which was so corrupt and so evil.
Yeah.
And how they've destroyed so many lives businesses and lives by a completely corrupt banking system.
Yeah, just total agreed, Charlie.
Yeah, totally.
Agreed. Don't get me wrong. I know some very wealthy people, probably very much like you, incredibly high net worth people.
Yeah.
But they are the salt of the earth. They're just so lovely. And you suddenly think, how could somebody who's worth so much money want more? It's almost a very twisted mindset. It's then nothing to do with the money, is it?
No, it's to do with power. And then power corrupts.
Yeah.
And ultimate power corrupts ultimately.
Yes, very true.
So, yeah, you see the transition and you see what's happening. But no, at the moment, it's just watching it. I remember when I was told, it must be 3 or 4 months ago, it was in April, I think I was told that they had passed the critical point. And that was the taking down and the removal of the Venetian families in Italy. That's why Italy was in such severe lockdown. Of course, when they took down the Vatican as well,
yeah,
they took down the Federal Reserve and backed it into the Treasury.
Yeah.
And the more sensitive subject of the Buckingham Palace being empty.
Yes.
Once that was emptied, and of course the mainstream media are still saying, "Oh, she's coming back. She's coming back," and it's like, one day you'll wake up to the truth, but they don't want people to know. And there's so many little things like Harry and Meghan disappearing in a hurry. And I feel sorry for Harry because I like Harry. I thought he was a nice kid, and he went through an awful lot in his life.
Yeah.
But he's sadly fallen for. Look, I'm on my 4th wife, 3rd proper wife, but yeah, 3rd proper wife. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'm 60 years old. So you can learn in your life. You can learn what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, very true. Well,
learn from your mistakes.
Yes. Well, I think, that's the only way we grow as people. I'm 50. And if you'd said to me 20 years ago, you would have led this life, I probably would have said, well, that's great.
Yeah.
However, it's probably way out of my reach, and yet 11 years ago, my life changed overnight, and lo and behold, I'm living the life that I've always aspired for now, so.
And what are you doing now?
So I've been speaking professionally for 8 years, doing lots of coaching, business coaching, mentoring, based on resilience and mindset. As I said to Mahoney when I spoke to David, when I came across Greg and yourself and Lee and David, which was probably around March time maybe, I just had all these little thoughts going off in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling was very similar to the feeling of when I committed for London 2012.
Okay.
It was the feeling of what if?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Because my late father And you would have loved my dad, Charlie, because my dad was a gentleman, you know, he was a real character. And when I said to my parents that I was going to commit to London 2012, having just broke my back in a paragliding crash,
wow,
you can just imagine my parents, because I've got no brothers or sisters. My mother, I said to my mother, I said, I'm gonna commit 100% to training for the London 2012 Paralympics, you know. And my mother said, oh, good luck. What would you like for tea?
wow.
And my dad said, Mark, come here. I said, what's up, Dad? He said, don't be so foolish. Go back to work. Because people who grew up in the 50s, 60s and 70s, that's all they knew.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they knew. So I said to my dad, look, I've got to do this. Okay, I've got to do this. You taught me all my life, if you have a dream, never give up.
Sure.
Okay, never give up.
Yeah.
And I was 40 when I broke my back. So you can imagine, I was 40, 41, now committing to, you know, to the Olympics and Paralympics in London 2012.
No trouble with the gate this time. Mark's away, pushing into this first corner, starting to get over the top of the gear. No problems whatsoever getting away for this time.
12 laps of the track, and as we watch the final get underway, for the record, the bronze has just been won while we were talking by Rodrigo Lopez of Argentina, who has got the bronze. Now let's see who gets the gold here, and watch the lights. That gives you the guidance here as we start. Colbourne is down by 1.1 on the start.
Now we know that Mark has a slow start. That's part of his style, and he'll start to wind it up now, hopefully. Just making sure that Liang is not going to try and go for the catch. You know, he's quite quick, so he could actually try and chase him, but I don't think there's any trouble with that at the moment. He's holding out on him.
The great danger of having such a wonderful audience is you to react to the audience rather than ride to your schedule or the man on the other side of the track, and you sell out before the last kilometre. Now, this is a good sign, in my opinion, that Mark has got off the mark a little bit slower.
He's been called forward by his coach. Just dragging him a bit forward, just telling him he's a little bit behind schedules and he needs to pick up a little bit.
Still, it's the Chinese rider reaching the opposite side of the track first. It's 1.181 the deficit now as we go through the first kilometre. And the first kilometre time, 1:17.611, and not a particularly fast opening kilometre here.
Yeah, Liang Zhu definitely up on what he was this morning. It'll be quite interesting to see how much quicker he's going to go.
And Colbourne is coming back, and as always, this incredible crowd spots it before I do. He's now inside a second. He's down nearly half a second. The steamroller is in progress.
As you know, Mark's a good time trialist. He's on the road as well, so he'll know what to do here. If anybody can actually lift this second part, Mark can do it.
Here we go, as he closes in now. They're almost locked on opposite sides of the track.
Mark's up.
And now Mark has reversed it by 0.2 of a second. The stadium roof has just gone up 20 feet as he now goes down the back straight, and he's now work in progress. He's nudging it out to nearly a second.
Well, I can see it on here. Mark is a great pursuit. He'll know what he's going to do here. He shouldn't tire. I think the Chinese rider tried to go very, very fast on him, setting a much faster time he did. It's like almost second half up in the first kilometre. But Mark knows what he's going to do. It won't be long, I think, before he'll actually have the Chinese rider in his sights.
Don't let's get overconfident now, Neil, as he comes round into the 2 kilometre point here. This is at the 2/3 distance now, and the crowd in front of me, as always, block my view as they all stand up. 2:35 for the second kilometre, and 3 seconds. I take it all back, Neil. He's got the rider in his sights.
Yeah, I know Mark's going to do it. I know he can haul him in. He'll haul him in around about a second and a half a lap now. We really sort of pull up on him.
There he comes off that banking with a beautiful streamlined top pursuing position here. Mark Colbourne, 42 years of age.
This could be the first gold medal for the Welshman. Bit of a surprise, yes, to him in the kilo, but he knows this is the one he wants. This is the one he came for.
Mark Colbourne, who broke his back in a paragliding fall when his wing collapsed and he fell 40 feet. That was in May 2009. In August 2012, he is about to become a Paralympic gold medalist. Look at him fly. It might not even reach it. Yes, it will, just about. He won't catch him in 3 kilometres. The bell has gone for the last lap.
Yeah, the coach has given up on telling what schedule he's on. He's just pointing at the Chinese rider. Go and catch him.
He's closing in rapidly, and he might just get on his slipstream as he comes off this banking into the finishing straight. He's 100 metres behind him as he lines up for the finish. The world record has just gone by, but he doesn't care. Oh my God, it hasn't! It hasn't! It's won! I'll have to work it out. It's about 11 hundredths of a second. He's got the world record again.
Incredible. What a way to win a gold medal. Beating your own world record.
You can't go better than that. 2 world records and a gold medal from 2 performances today. Mark Colbourne has got his gold in the best possible style.
When you look how little recovery these guys have had since qualifying is amazing. You know, to actually sit here, having seen Jody Cundy, who I've worked with since 2006, not actually being able to ride for the gold ride-off, and then to see Mark ride like this, it's one hell of an emotional roller coaster for myself.
Both ends of the emotional spectrum there, while Jody Cundy has been in tears and throwing his helmet across the stadium just on 5 minutes ago. Now we go back or forward to Mark Colbourne, 3:53.881. He's improved the world record he set this morning. This is an incredible occasion. And as I said to you earlier, Neil, if he hadn't had the tragedy that hit him, the world of cycling would never have known this man existed.
Well, I had the pleasure of working in the early days when he first came from Rookwood Hospital on a pair of crutches, teaching him to ride a bike with stabilisers, and now to see him to come here only just under 3 years and take gold medal at the Paralympic Games is just something exceptional.
Well, he's got such a brilliant position on that bike. He's a big, strong man. He's shown that to us now. The man that took the silver medal off him in the time trial, the gold medal rather, off him in the time trial yesterday, Li Shangzhu, wasn't in with a shout today. He never looked like faltering. The slow start, I don't think even you were too worried by his slow start, Wade. You knew it would go right.
No, Mark, you know, he does have to actually get over the top of the pedals due to his disability, so I know exactly the style of his start and the way he does it. He's never going to be a fast starter, but once he gets that up into speed, he can actually sit there all day like a pendulum, pushing those pedals around.
And his average speed, by the way, represents the 46.177 kilometres an hour, which is about 29 miles an hour.
Mark, you obviously weren't content on the silver medal yesterday. You just gone one better, got a gold and a world record. Congratulations.
Thank you very much indeed.
You were behind at the start of that race as well. Was it part of your game plan to just stay focused? You knew what you would do. I mean, you looked calm out there.
Yeah, I think, you know, with this type of race, obviously you have to take your mind off, you know, whoever you're racing against and stick to your schedule. You know, the way that my body works, you know, if I go absolutely flat out for 5, 6, 7 laps, unfortunately I fill up with lactic acid, and then, you know, I struggle for the last 4 or 5 laps. So Tom and I obviously work in training, you know, every single day to make sure that I can sustain, you know, this Bradley Wiggins pace, you know, from the start to the finish. And obviously the you know, the other rider is a fantastic sprinter, you know, up until maybe 5, 6, 7 laps. However, our plan worked.
Is it more than you could have ever expected from a debut home games?
Oh, for me, you know, I had this dream, you know, albeit 2 years ago, you know, along with Neil Smith of Disability Sport Wales, and fair play to Neil. You know, he said, look, just keep repeating the process and keep working hard and your dream will become a reality. And obviously, you know, we are here today, aren't we? You know, I keep pinching myself.
Well, you know, you're now a Welsh hero, so have you got a message for all your supporters back home?
Well, first of all, I'd like to dedicate this gold medal to my late father, and obviously my mother. You know, she's here in the crowd somewhere. I'm surprised I can't hear her actually shouting amongst everybody else. And also my daughter. You know, my daughter's been through a lot the last 3 years, you know, with my accident and so forth. So, yeah, I'd just like to dedicate the medal, you know, to my whole family, and obviously hi to everybody back home, and thanks for your support.
The whole nation loves you. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers.
So here he is, the man of the moment earlier, winning gold, and we can see him now picking up that medal. Let's rejoin Phil Liggett.
To an enormous cheer, Mark Colbourne steps up on to the podium. His race number 42 matches his age, and from a broken back in a paragliding incident, he's come to the Olympic Games in the Paras here to win gold for Great Britain, and I'm quite sure in particular for Wales and his family. Mum said she wasn't coming, but apparently she has turned up in the stadium, and this is a historic moment.
Yeah, I was got a shock when his father passed away just before he took his World Championship to the runners here. So this for him is a really big day. He said he was going to dedicate this medal to his late father, Cecil.
And my dad said to my mother, have a word with him. I think he's lost it.
Yeah.
But my point is, the feeling I had when I committed 100%, and it was shit or bust, Charlie.
Yeah.
You know? And when I saw Greg, when I saw David, when I saw you, you know, and I started watching these videos, and I suddenly thought to myself, these are eloquent people. They would not put their name, their brand, their reputation on the line if there wasn't something in it, you know? And I've been a big fan ever since, which is why I reached out to David, you know?
I appreciate that. Look, I've always said I'm not the Messiah. I'm just Charlie. I'm out there asking questions. And I'm asking questions on everybody's behalf in the hope that they'll start asking questions too. And people are not asking questions. There's a lot of people out there, Mark, who know that this is not right. They know it doesn't sit right with them, but they're not asking any questions. They're, oh, well, we'll go with the quiet life. We'll go with the BBC, and we'll go with ITV, and we'll go with CNN, and we'll go with all these different news networks.
Yeah.
And then you have to wake up to the fact that maybe they're lying to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was really astonished of two things, really. I suppose I was astonished to how long it's been going on.
Yeah.
How long the programming's been going on, using TV, using radio, using mainstream advertising, social media now, which is obviously a big thing. Yeah. And I guess for me as a Paralympian, as a gold medalist.
So here he is, the man of the moment earlier, winning gold, and we can see him now picking up that medal. Let's rejoin Phil Liggett.
To an enormous cheer, Mark Colbourne steps up on to the podium. His race number 42 matches his age, and from a broken back in a paragliding incident, he's come to the Olympic Games in the Paris here to win gold for Great Britain, and I'm quite sure in particular for Wales and his family. Mum said she wasn't coming, but apparently she has turned up in the stadium, and this is a historic moment.
Yeah, I was got a shock when his father passed away just before he took his World Championship to the runners here. So this for him is a really big day. He said he was going to dedicate this medal to his late father, Cecil.
You know, as a world champion, a world record holder, all those accolades are amazing to go down in history. But my personal values far outshine what I've achieved. Yeah. Because, and I've said this publicly, I don't care what people think about me, because I care about people. Yeah. And that's the difference. You know?
I was talking to Wendy Smith, who was also a Paralympian in the wheelchair, in the wheelchair basketball. Been talking to her. And I was completely shocked because she showed me her book.
Okay.
And her inspiration was my uncle.
No way.
David Henry, the hurdler from the 60s.
Yes.
That's my uncle.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she put me in contact. I haven't spoken to David or V for 30 years.
Wow.
It's an amazing story. Because I was born in a religious cult called Plymouth Brethren. I put it into a number of my videos. And David, I was born in 1960. He came out of the Plymouth Brethren in 1959 because he wanted to go to the Olympics and they wouldn't let him.
Wow.
So he left so he could go.
Yeah.
But my mother used to point him out on the beach in Frinton in Suffolk because he used to hurdle over the breakwaters. If you hit a breakwater, it would break your leg. That's why he never hit a hurdle when he was
yeah.
He knew how to miss them.
Yeah. Brilliant. Wow. That's incredible.
No, look, from me and from everybody watching, congratulations. I mean, an amazing achievement that you've achieved there. And it shows everybody in the world that if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. And on my journey here, which was not planned at all, I just wanted to tell the truth. 98% of the people who follow me love what I'm doing. 2% absolutely hate it, are jealous of it. One of my friends that I know is actually a hacker, computer hacker.
Okay.
And he's been tracking all my trolls, and virtually all of them are connected to the authorities.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
One way or t'other. So you see these trolls, and more often than not, they don't have names or faces.
Yeah.
Or if they do, it's somebody else's name and somebody else's face.
Yeah.
And I've been prepared to put my name and my face out there, and I'm going to get stick for what I'm doing. Of course I am, but my heart is pure. I'm trying to do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. Because
COVID-19 coronavirus is nothing more than the flu. So once you accept that fact, there's nothing more than the common cold, then you'll start to ask questions as to, so why are we locked down? Why is this? And that's all I'm asking for. Just ask the questions why. And then when you look at the vaccines, again, because I have a huge advantage, Mark. I was told last year this was going to happen.
Wow.
Well, I was told originally 6 years ago, and then 2 years ago, and then the end of last year, they said, right, we're going to do it next year. And this is from really good sources. So when it started to happen, I thought, well, I'm going to tell people. And I was expecting a bit of a backlash from the guy that told me, and he's gone, no, just stick to that, stick to this, and don't go on to this, this, and this. I said, okay. So just stick to this, and then it'll open people up.
Yeah.
And I've been in contact with them the whole way through this. And every now and then they'll say, look, just don't go down this line at the moment. But it's an amazing journey. Also, I know somebody in South Wales who also is a motivational speaker, Kevin Green.
Yes.
I've known Kevin.
Kevin Green, yeah.
Yes. I met Kevin at Make-A-Wish Foundation many, many years ago.
Yes.
We were sat on the same table and became friends.
He's big into property, isn't he?
That's right. He is. Buys property and does it up and rents it out at reasonable prices, etc. He's got quite a few.
Yeah.
But he's another case of somebody who comes from South Wales and was a farming boy originally, but has worked really, really hard, and he's got a property portfolio, and he's doing a lot of speaking, it shows that it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter anything like that. I've just been talking about the valleys in Wales because I'm working very closely with Michael Tellinger in South Africa.
Okay.
And he has a project called One Small Town, where you can have a generator that doesn't need anything other than the magnetism, doesn't need fuel, doesn't need anything like that. And you can supply enough energy for 10,000 homes.
Wow.
Free of charge. But the generator costs money. But
I think that's the astonishing thing that I love about history. Mm-hmm. And as history unfolds, and in the last 10 years, we've obviously had exponential increments for technology, certainly science as well. But I think for me personally, having grown up in a small mining town in South Wales that had the gentleman who, I suppose, created the NHS, which is an Iron Bevan.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up in the 70s, Charlie, and saying to my parents, who the hell is this an Iron Bevan guy? Because everybody's talking about him, And obviously he passed away 10 years before I was born. Mm-hmm. But his name and his memory lived on, And I suppose when I had my accident, then, speaking for the NHS, presenting on resilience and mindset. And as you said just now, the human body and the human mind is just an incredible machine if you know how to use it correctly, And I guess you have to take your hat off, to the NHS, when it was transformed, because back then, the service was unreliable and you had to pay for treatment. So imagine breaking your back back then. Imagine how much it would have cost you when people were probably earning, 3 or 4 shillings a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like 15 pence.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful. I said this to David. I'm very grateful for the life I've had, and I'm probably even more grateful to be here, because 11 years ago, 2009, I should have ended up in the local cemetery, you know. But I guess the determination, the belief, you know, to just have a go. I think that was the bottom line. Let's just have a go. Let's just see what happens, you know. And lo and behold, literally lived out a childhood dream.
Yeah,
you know.
incredible.
So yeah, the journey, the people around me, you know, I met people that I would have never have met if it wasn't for my accident. So I'm very grateful for their friendship, for their support, and I guess who would have thought it? Going to the home games,
Incredible.
you know, the home Paralympics. If you're ever going to win a medal, it's got to be at the home games. You know?
Do you know, I look at the home games, I look at them, and it sends a shiver down my spine, because I knew about this 6 years ago. I didn't know when, but I knew about it last year. And when you look at the opening ceremony, that wasn't an accident.
No, that was probably pre-planned 5, 6, 8, 10 years previous.
Correct.
Yeah, and when you look at, you know, obviously the symbolism that's going on, and, you know, I don't say too much personally, even though I'm happy to share it, even on this, you know, this recording, what I've seen in the last 10 years, and now I've joined all those dots. You know, I'm very much a kinesthetic learner, but I'm almost a very kinesthetic thinker. But I put two and two together very, very quickly. And even some of my best friends, they've scratched their head and they're like, "Oh, what are you on about?" And I'm like, "It's because you're programmed. It's because you're not open-minded. You don't see it." It's like in psychology and coaching, RAS, reticulated activated system. So if you buy a red car, you start seeing red cars.
That's right.
You know, and I'm seeing things now from, like you said, 5, 8, 10 years ago. And I'm like, really? You know, really? And it's been around us all that time.
Because of my journey, I've started to investigate exactly this. And I've done over 3,000 hours of study now, which is a huge amount. One of the things I've learned is, when you were seeing things the way you used to see it, and the same with me, we were three-dimensional. When you move into the fifth dimension and above, we used to know the saying, you can't see the wood for the trees. When you step outside of the forest, you can see so much more. And Justin, my little boy, he was told the other day he was on the 14th dimension, and he's very proud of that. He's seeing things that he's enlightening me. And there's different dimensions that you come to, which is a spiritual level, so that you can look at things through a completely different. And I had a lovely chat the other day with Ben, who was the former RAF Chinook crewman. And he was talking about when you see things through different lenses, and you've got the media, which is one lens, and you've got different, so the vision you're getting is very distorted. And you and I remember at school when we used to put a light through a prism. And it would come in either off at an angle or upside down or whatever. And it's amazing. We have these lenses in front which distort our vision. But when you step outside and you get a clearer vision of what's going on, as you said earlier, 1 and 1 actually make 2. And it becomes incredibly clear.
Yeah, very much so. And I think the problem, in my experience with human beings, is we love certainty. We love security. You know, the human mind, the human brain was designed and made to keep us safe. So when we're safe, we're happy. Even like, you know, going back to my accident, you know, I had a fantastic job, big salary, company car, all the bells and whistles. And yet when I was lying in the hospital bed, completely paralyzed from my waist down, all of those things didn't mean anything.
No, exactly.
They had no value, no worth, no value at all. And my point is that when I became authentic, and it's what I call removing the mask. It's the old saying, Charlie, what you see is what you get.
Exactly right.
And by having the right values, the good values, the honesty, integrity, you know, kindness, generosity, patience, all of the great values we were given as human beings, that's when you can become authentic.
Yeah.
You know, you really can. And I never knew I had those values. Okay.
Sure.
I didn't. I was just me. I was just Margaret's boy. Okay.
Yeah.
But my accident created that change for me.
Yeah.
Okay. It took me off a different path.
Yeah.
Okay. And brought me onto the almost like the path of enlightenment, because I'm now seeing such a completely different life. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't. I'm not a TV person. I never have been. But what I've done, I guess, is I've appreciated the good people around me.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got rid of the naysayers. Imagine how many people in 2010, so we go back 10 years ago, when I said, look, I'm going to commit to the London 2012 Paralympic Games. How many people said, oh, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back to work, you fool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you just said about looking at life through a different lens.
Yeah.
Okay. Rather than, what if I fail? What if you don't fail?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, there was one line that Kenny Rogers, the singer, country singer, that he came up with. He was talking with his mother when he was young about what he was going to do for work as he grew older. And his mother said to him, find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
100%.
And he landed up doing something, and there would have been plenty of naysayers to him.
Yes.
Like there was plenty of naysayers to my daughter. My daughter has always loved football.
Okay.
And she's played at the highest level. She's got England caps.
Oh, wow.
She was the captain of Sheffield for 6 years. She was the manager at Sheffield United. She's now the manager of Birmingham City Ladies.
Wow.
But people would say, well, you're a girl, you know. But this was her dream, and she's still living out her dream. And she got offered the job at Birmingham City because they didn't stand a chance. And she said, I'll take it because she's my girl.
Yeah.
And I promise you, you know, if there's one person in the world that will keep them up, it'll be her, because she's one of these people that never says never. She's a fighter.
Yeah.
And because the salaries aren't brilliant in football, she also has a T-shirt printing business. She's also got a brand new little baby, Hartley, my granddaughter. So
Brilliant.
She's working ridiculous hours. I mean, incredible in, you know, inside the makings of a wonderful, wonderful girl.
Yeah.
No, she will succeed as always. She said, I love a challenge. I love a challenge, and she'll throw everything at it.
Yeah. So my question to you then, Charlie, is, are you a big football fan?
I like sports. I've fallen completely out of love with football because watching it, I watched Chelsea against Liverpool yesterday, and I'm a Chelsea fan. But because there's no atmosphere there.
Yeah.
And I used to love, as I mentioned to you earlier about the Arms Park, I'd come down and watch the rugby at the Arms Park, and the atmosphere especially between the Welsh and the Irish. But the Welsh and the English, I mean, after the game, everybody would get together. And I used to have a friend who was an ex-boxer called Eddie Ayroth, who used to live down there. And we used to meet up with him, and we'd meet up with people like Ian Woosnam, etc., and have a drink after the game. And they were just down to earth, really good guys.
Yeah.
That you'd have a laugh with, and you'd be out in Cardiff, and it didn't matter who you supported.
Yeah.
It was a lovely, lovely atmosphere. I mean,
it's very special.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, very special. Well, I was going to ask you, I've got a very fond memory of a very famous footballer. I spoke in Royal Tunbridge Wells back a few years ago, and it was a charity function. And this gentleman sat next to me, and it was a black tie event.
Mm-hmm.
And this gentleman sat next to me, and he must have been, I'm guessing, late 70s, maybe early 80s, okay? But just immaculate.
Yeah.
Do you know when you know somebody takes complete pride in their appearance, how they dress? And this gentleman sat next to me, and I thought, fair play, you know, he's really looking after himself. He must have been late 70s, maybe early 80s. I can't remember. I should have asked, really. But anyway, and I could see on his nameplate that he had an MBE, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm then thinking, well, from one MBE to another, maybe we should have a chat, okay?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, it's a bit rude. I don't want to go in all guns blazing. I'll give it half an hour, just have a chat, get to know this gentleman, go through the know, like, and trust phase.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did my 1 hour for the charity, spoke about resilience, mindset, adversity, the journey to London, why I committed, what happened, etc., etc. So I said to this gentleman, I said, excuse me, I said, I'm really curious. What have you been awarded the MBE for? And he said, oh, my services to sport. I thought, great, there's a way in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I said, oh, which sport would that be? And he said, oh, football. Now, I've loved football all my life, but I've never been a fanatic. Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Kenny Dalglish days, the Graham Souness, okay, the Ian Rush days, and all the rest of it. Okay. So he said, oh, football. And I said, oh, fantastic. I said, so did you play at a decent level? Because I'm thinking the guy's got an MBE.
Yeah.
He must have been pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
He said, yes. He said, I played for Fulham. Now, obviously, this is long before my time. Okay.
Yeah.
I said, oh, fantastic. Were you there a long time? Oh, yeah. He said, I was there quite a while. He said, but I also had my international cap as well. I'm thinking, great, the guy's an international footballer. We can continue this conversation. So I said, oh, what was the most memorable part of your career? And he said, oh, probably winning the 1966 World Cup. And I'm sat there, right, Charlie, and I'm thinking, knowing you just want the floor to swallow you up, right?
Yeah.
I said, I do apologize, but obviously I wasn't around in 66, And I said, what's your full name? Because I couldn't see his name, Yeah. And he turned the nameplate, and his name was George Cowan.
Yeah, George Cowan. Yeah.
I'm sat there, I'm thinking, the guy, he's an icon, isn't he?
Yeah, of course.
So then we had this chat about Bobby Moore, about the World Cup, and I'm just literally sat in history.
Yeah, of course.
So that's my claim to fame for footballers, anyway.
Yeah, no, those moments are absolutely wonderful. Absolutely.
Oh, very special. Yeah, very special. But it was great. Great moment for me. Great moment for me. You
just reminded me. I've got a football shirt over there. I don't know if you can see it there.
Okay.
It's a Northern Rock, Newcastle United. Oops, there we go.
Yeah.
It was the last Bobby Robson Classic up at Slaley Hall.
Wow.
And the reason I bought that shirt was quite simple. I'm very good friends with Chris Waddle.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Chris.
Yeah, and we were outside with a couple of the other lads, John Beresford. We were just out having a chat, and somebody came running out and said, "Charlie, get back in the room. You're here to buy at the auction." So I went back in and just put my hand up. I had no idea what I was bidding for, but it was
no way.
And I landed up with that shirt, signed by Anton Deck and Bobby Robson and all the other boys that were there.
Brilliant.
And the funny thing is that Newcastle United and Northern Rock and Bobby Robson all went down in the same year.
Yes.
But I've got the shirt. But no, that was one of those wonderful moments where
brilliant.
He was another amazing man. But I have a love for Bobby because I was born in Ipswich.
Ah, okay.
And although he's a Geordie, he's an Ipswich boy. He won us the FA Cup. He won us the UEFA Cup or whatever. I forget what it was called then. But an amazing man who would talk to you for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about football. If you change the subject, you just walk away. Wasn't interested in anything else but football. But a wonderful, wonderful man. Yeah.
Brilliant. Very good. Very good. So yeah, it's all exciting times happening at the moment, across the board. I seem to be glued to Twitter, literally, every day now, with so much going on. And I think, just to sort of share the memory of 2012, we're sort of 8 years on now.
Yeah.
And I think I'm at that point now where I'm conscious of sharing information with people because I know it'll have an impact on their life. Because, going back to 66 World Cup, we still talk about it.
Yeah.
We still talk about it, literally 54 years on, we still talk about the success, the incredible achievement of an incredible team,
It's important also, Mark, that you had to break your back to realize it. People don't need to break their back to be inspired. You know,
No.
we're going through a great awakening, and if you want to reset in your own life, now is the time. Now, if you keep saying, "Oh, I want to turn over a new leaf," now is the time to start, because we're going through a financial reset.
Yep.
We're going through a huge change right now, and we can turn over that leaf. And one thing that is quite interesting, because the small percentage of people that we get that hate us point out that I've made mistakes in my life, and I've made plenty of them. But now's the time for me to pay back.
Yeah. Oh,
Now's
100%.
my time to do something good. For
Yeah,
humanity.
100%. And I think, when I went to London and I brought my medal in to show you.
Brilliant. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely amazing.
You can see the colour.
Look at that.
Okay.
A gold medal, hey? Unbelievable. Look at the size of it.
Yeah, it's huge. And the astonishing thing is, the more that you read about history, the more it just opens your mind to life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I love that. I absolutely love that. It's only the second gold medal I've ever seen. And David Henry's was the first.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And I think going to London, and I'll never forget we did a breakfast meeting with Lord Coe.
Yes.
For a large charity one morning. And this was, 3 or 4 years after the games. And I was privileged to actually win the very first medal for Paralympics GB at the home games. It was a silver in one of the other races.
Okay.
But it was the very first medal that was won at the home games by a GB athlete. Okay.
Incredible.
Incredible. So when people talk about history, I almost start to pinch myself, because I suddenly think I'm actually part of history. It's a small part.
Yeah.
Small part, but it's part of history. And my point is, I said to Lord Coe when we had this breakfast meeting in London, in terms of the strapline Inspire a Generation, when will we see that effect happening? And he said, well, hopefully in the next, maybe 5 to 10 years, but the full effect probably won't be seen in our lifetime because of the ripple effect.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So it's such a passion for me to help other people, because as you know yourself, to do something for yourself is easy.
Yeah, it is.
You just do it. Okay. Yeah. But when you do it for other people, when you have that contribution running through your veins, okay. And there's a great word that I learned, I don't know, probably back in 2015, I think it was, with another international speaker, called reciprocity.
Yes. Lovely word.
I thought it was made up.
No, it's a wonderful word.
I thought it was made up. And I said to Steve, the gentleman who shared this word with me, I said, what does it mean? And he said, you're walking proof, Mark.
Yeah, reciprocate.
I said, okay, but tell me what it is.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you give your time. You help other people. You share information. You're very unselfish.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But you don't expect anything back.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's got a point, actually.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Charlie. I've got a nice big book with plenty of favours sitting in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just an incredible journey.
That's very much the position with what I'm doing with this as well. Is people said, well, haven't you monetized it? You could be making a lot of money. So I'm not doing it for that.
No.
The guys now are they're going to do something with subscriptions for people who want to participate. And that's their choice. I won't take anything out of it at all. This is purely for them, because I've now got a team behind the scenes that is, I never dreamt of. I mean, half a dozen at least people working full time behind the scenes to keep this going. Because what I didn't realize was, I've got 169,000 subscribers on my main channel, and then 10,000 on the new one that we only set up 4 days ago, or 5 days ago now, because I had the 7-day ban. But we get something like, we get over 500 messages every single day.
Wow.
And like with my Facebook, I've got somebody who just manages it, because I don't go on Facebook at all.
Yeah.
They just manage, they answer on my behalf. And if there's anything I should see, they'll let me know. It's the same on Instagram. It's the same on Twitter.
Yeah.
There's a team behind the scenes that do everything so that I can keep focused on trying to get the message out, doing my research. There's certain people send me videos that they think I should watch, which is also very important.
Yeah.
I start to realize what people like Robbie Williams that have got millions and millions and millions of followers and the messages that they must get. And I had somebody the other day that got a bit funny with me, said, you didn't reply to my message. And I was like, you'd be amazed. There's just not enough hours in the day to actually reply to everyone. When I started the journey, I just stuck a thumb up to say I've read it, I've seen it. But I don't. It's impossible even now to do that. That's why I've got other people just keeping an eye on stuff and letting me know what's going on. Because
well, I suppose you're at the point now where, and we probably, and you definitely haven't, and Mahoney and Greg and Lee, technically you've not scratched the surface yet.
No.
You know, you haven't, because to scale up, to get this message out there, okay, and I was reading some stuff this morning, having breakfast, and I kept having this what if moment.
Yeah.
Okay, what if? And I tell you what sparked it off, excuse me, was I watched a 1 minute video of Prince, the singer, the artist, who was talking about the internet.
Yeah.
Okay. And he basically said, you know, enjoy the internet for what it is, but, you know, I think it was something like, go on the internet, but don't let the internet go on you.
Sure.
Okay. Don't let it take control. And I thought, there's a what if moment.
Yeah.
The guy's not here anymore.
Sure. No,
so you start thinking, why is he not here anymore? He's got all that money.
Yeah.
Could have had a fantastic life.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, he's not here.
Yeah.
And then this, obviously the internet starts sort of popping up this stuff, you know. And then there was questions then around, you know, lots of famous people. And Lady Diana popped up, the question based on Lady Diana. And obviously you and I know a lot about the numbers and, you know, the consequences and, you know, the probability of things. And you start suddenly think to yourself, this could be a possibility.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know,
that's the question I get asked the most about over the last 2 months, because a lot of people are asking questions about Princess Diana and John F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
And as much as everything adds up, makes an awful lot of sense. I've tried to stick to the truth rather than, those are the little exciting bits on the side that I look at and go, really? And the numbers do add up.
Yeah. So I think, you know, in terms of, you know, history, and if anybody's got any common sense watching this video, then, you know, you have to look at the facts.
Yep.
Okay. And you can't break history.
No.
Because it's set in stone. Okay. It is. And I think for many people watching this, my advice would be just be open. Just bring to the table an open mind.
Yeah.
You know, and just look at what's going on around you. I've had this conversation with my mother, Charlie.
Yes.
My mother's 78. She watches the telly every day. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said to her about, I can't remember, maybe 2 months ago, when I did some reading on JFK Jr., on the flight, you know, and et cetera, and also the Tiffany blue box.
Yes.
So I'm chatting to my mother, and I walks in, and my mother's got like a blouse on that was light blue, like a baby blue.
Yeah.
And I just thought of the box that President Trump took to the White House and gave to Obama, you know. And anyway, so I said to my mother, I said, do you remember JFK? Oh yeah, that terrible man that got shot, you know, the president. Yeah. I said, did you know that his son is supposedly not with us anymore? Oh, I didn't know, she said. I said, but what if he was still alive, ma'am? Oh, no, that would never happen, Mark.
Yeah.
So even my mother's programmed.
Yeah, exactly. The programming is absolutely incredible. I was talking to Laurie Ladd, spiritual lady, beautiful lady. And she was saying to me, I don't watch television at all. But when Trump came on the scene, I don't know why, I just didn't like him. And she said, now she's dug around. She's a complete supporter. But she said the subliminal programming around had obviously made her dislike a man that she'd knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And it is. There's things that happen around us. The programming is unbelievable. But I've never felt so happy in all my life since I've turned Metallia.
Well, I can relate to that lady for two reasons, okay? Yeah. Because when I was watching the presidential election in 2016, the reason why I was watching it, I didn't have much choice because it was my birthday.
Okay.
So Trump actually got sworn in, or he actually won on the 9th of November, which was my birthday. Okay. And it just came up on the TV, you know, at the time. And I don't even know what I was watching because, as I said, I hardly watch TV at all. Okay. But I just saw it. Maybe it was like a news flash or whatever had come up, you know. And I thought to myself at the time, and this is embarrassing, but I don't mind sharing this. My first thought was, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Who's this crazy guy? Yeah. Okay. For the simple reason he was not a politician.
Correct.
So if we look at all the politicians we've ever seen from 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond, okay, he was just very different.
Yeah.
And yet as a business magnate, you know, as a property magnate, obviously, you know, incredible, what we call high D or a high red, you know, he's very driven. And I started to warm to the guy because I thought, well, he's obviously got a big heart because he's a people's person. And then when I watched the interview where he mentioned Prince Andrew, I was like, there's something in this.
Yeah.
There's something in this. There's no way that this kind of figurehead would say those things if they weren't true.
Correct. Absolutely, you know? Correct.
So now I'm almost I'm a big fan, okay. But what I said this to David, I'd like to know more.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to know more about obviously the bigger picture, and the more I'm watching, the more I'm learning about why he went to all the countries and had all of the leaders and put them into submission. You know, and that for me was a game changer, Charlie.
Massive. And that's why I like having Melody Kay on my show, because she worked for him for many years. She knows what he's like as a man. He always knew your name. He always knew your birthday.
Oh, wow.
At least twice a year, he'd invite you and your family for dinner.
Wow.
And she said he was just nice and kind and genuine. She said he's nothing like what the media portray him. Nothing like it at all.
Yeah, but that comes to show then that I suppose in reality he's not on a power trip.
No, he's not.
You know, he's not.
No, there's quite a few people that know him that say that when he does the Apprentice show, that's not the real Donald Trump. Behind the scenes, yes, he'll fire you if you're not doing your job. But everyone knows that in his company. He sets very high standards. But if you achieve those standards, or you're set out to achieve those standards, you will have his 100% support the whole way through. Yeah,
exactly. Well, when I watched the interview that he did, it was like the Q&A with Hillary Clinton, and obviously Hillary Clinton was brave enough to almost put him down on stage in front of the audience, and said that, you know, if President Trump was in power, you know, the country would be in trouble.
Yeah.
And if I remember, his words were, if I was in power, you'd be in jail.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
And I thought to myself, even then, you wouldn't say that unless it's absolutely true.
It's watertight, I promise you.
Honestly. So I've never been so excited with what's going on for the whole planet. Some people think I'm crazy, obviously, because they're the ones that's programmed.
Yeah.
You know, but I guess for the great and the good of the people, okay, that takes me then back to an Iron Bever.
Yeah.
That vision to help people with the good values, to look after people, you know, serve people.
Yeah.
I suppose speak for the people, to the people.
Sure, exactly.
You know? So
we're coming into a stage, an area now that is all about humanity, caring for humanity, helping each other. There'll be some huge changes. We're going to have a very, very difficult 2 to 3 weeks now. The next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be very difficult. We're going to go into sudden lockdown, and there'll be two reasons for this. Number one, they're changing over the financial system from the old fiat Swift system to the quantum system. It's in process, but the final bits will be taken into place. Most people are completely oblivious to the fact that most of the central banks have been closed for the last 2 weeks. The Bank of England, the Bank of Holland, the Bank of Spain, all of these, the European Central Bank, they've all been closed, but it hasn't been in mainstream media. It's all been kept quiet.
Wow.
They're actually changing over the actual operating systems. They'll run parallel for a bit. We're starting to see that because there's so many instruments on the SWIFT system. But there will also be a huge spike in deaths between now and November, December.
Sure.
And the first reason for the deaths will be people that were denied operations, who needed them between March and August.
Yeah.
They'll die because they didn't have the operations. Because of this pandemic that was put in place by governments for this transition. The second one is very, very sad. The second spike will be old people who've been wearing a mask in the summer, so their immune system will be reduced by 17 to 20%.
Yeah.
And so that when germs come along, because this is a point that you'll like, when germs come along, it'll actually kill them. But I love the fact that the world has been educated that you can transmit a virus. Technically, biologically, that's impossible.
Yeah.
You can transmit germs, but you can't. So then you have to ask yourself the question, Mark, who came up with the terminology transmit a virus? Well, that might be a computer geek that transmitted viruses on computers.
Yes.
Called Bill Gates.
Yes.
Because he made his money out of viruses and antiviruses. So the word virus is scary because it can attack your computer, because we're all computer literate.
Yeah.
But subliminally, we're thinking, oh, the virus is going to come after us. Viruses cannot be transmitted between humans. Germs can be.
Yeah. Well, I read last week that every person who unfortunately had supposedly passed away from COVID was in hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think anybody has actually passed away at home.
No.
Supposedly from COVID.
Also, every single person on the statistics that has died of, say, COVID-19 had a vaccination, a flu vaccination.
Wow.
Not one person that hadn't had a flu vaccination was affected by it. And Dr. Oz came out the other day and actually said that and was shut down while he said it on the news. He said it's actually increasing your chances of catching COVID-19 if you have the flu vaccination. And they took him off air immediately. And they said, oh, we have to go. There's a panic, an absolute panic. I'll send it to you.
Please do. Yes, that would be wonderful. And I think the most difficult thing for society, as I said earlier on, is we've had 50 years of certainty, 50 years of security, with technology giving us, some great advancements. But at the same time, it's been to the detriment of people's faith.
Yeah, totally.
To the faith of just humanity as a whole, And when I spoke to David, and we were talking about, people should be doing in life what they love. Yeah. Like you said earlier on, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to be a carpenter, you should have the opportunity to go and be a carpenter and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And actually earn enough money and live, whether it's painting, whether it's whatever it is, rather than end up in a job, on the hamster wheel, doing something you hate, to survive, to buy things, to impress people that probably don't even like you anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's just that vicious circle that people are going through. And psychologically, that wears people down.
It does.
It's the Chinese water treatment, isn't it?
Yeah.
The drip effect.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where people then, they snap.
Yeah.
They get to the point where they just snap.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe where we're at the moment, I'm very open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
My blinkers are off.
Yeah.
Okay. Hence why we're chatting.
Once your blinkers are off, not everything you see will be spot on. So this is what you need to research it. This is what I'm trying to get people to do, because just have a look. And I've looked down a number of rabbit holes that have been absolutely scary, and I've come back out. and I've started to learn things. And there's, because I have access to certain information that is not public information.
Sure.
I know a bit more about what's going on, but I have to be careful what I say. But we're coming through a very difficult phase, but where we're coming into is going to be amazing. So it's important to take people's fear away.
Yeah.
And I've used the word recently about hibernating rather than being in quarantine. Hibernating is probably a better way of putting it, where we just keep a low profile for now.
Yeah.
While what's going on is dealt with.
Yeah.
Because once we're through this, all of this stuff is just a smokescreen.
Yeah, well, this is what I said earlier on. Desperate times, desperate measures.
Correct.
You know, if you see what's going on in the States at the moment, you know,
yes.
with everything that's going on, okay, that's not normal behavior.
Yeah. No.
Literally, what are we now? 45 days from the election?
Yep.
Is it 44,
yeah.
45? Yeah.
November the 3rd.
That's right, yeah. So, you know,
6
we're very,
days
very
before
close.
your birthday.
Sorry?
6 days before your birthday.
Yes. Yes, November the 9th.
Exactly.
Yes, Remembrance Sunday. So I think, you know, as we move forward, there's a great word I learned, another word I learned called perturbation.
I haven't heard of that one.
Oh, Charlie, you've got to research. Take a look at perturbation.
Perturbation.
Perturbation is when it's a coaching term. It's when you push people through, and they burst.
Yeah.
But they come through it. So it's like a fear. Okay. If you had a fear of heights.
Yeah.
And I coach you through it, and you get to the point where you're like,
yeah.
And you burst through, and it's okay. So it's that perturbation where you push people through, you know, through their comfort zone, into the stretch zone, into the panic zone, and then beyond. And then everything's fine.
I'm going to share that word with my daughter.
Yes, definitely.
My favorite word at the moment is surreptitious.
I'm glad you said that.
Exactly, which is basically sneaky as to the way they are. They're going about it in a sneaky way rather than being clean and clear.
Yeah.
They're surreptitious, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the great thing with going back to technology a moment, you know, back in 2016, just back to the States, where people thought they could get away with things.
Yeah.
But it bit them on the backside.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the tension is that people are waiting. The whole world's waiting.
Sure.
You know, for all of these sealed indictments to appear, you know, to be unlocked, and for the evidence to be brought forward. But you and I know that you can't bring it out too soon.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
And certainly not 45 days before the election.
No, there's so much. I was amazed because everyone that's awake and aware of what's going on is going, I'm ready for the information, but we're in the minority.
Yeah.
And the people out there are not ready for this information yet. They couldn't handle half of it or a fraction of it. And they made it very clear to me 4 or 5 months ago that probably only 10 or 20% would ever be public knowledge. They'd only allow a certain amount out. But there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. I mean, you couldn't make it up.
I can imagine. It's taken almost 4 years, for information to come to fruition, to come to the forefront, to be almost put out into society now.
Yeah.
And you're spot on. The whole planet would probably freak out.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it's also something I went through when I was 23 years old. When I came out of the religious cult and I found out that what I'd been told wasn't true.
Okay.
And then you realize it's your parents that have lied to you. Then it's very, very difficult to it took me 10 years, Mark.
Wow.
It took me 10 years to clear up my head. And it even involved a trip to Israel and Palestine.
Okay.
To the Holy Lands to try and establish what was actually true. And I was talking to 2 guys yesterday, Errol and Kenyon, about exactly this. They go to Israel 3 times a year. So they know it inside out. They know the history, and they've studied. They're scholars. I mean, they're incredible people. But one thing that you would appreciate that, because everywhere I went in Bethlehem, in Jerusalem, in the Mount of Olives, everywhere I went, Jesus was here, Jesus was there, Jesus was this. And I thought to myself, do you know what? If Jesus was born in Liverpool, he'd have been everywhere.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, because most of what I saw there had been built 300 years after Jesus died. So, and the guys were telling me yesterday about the history and some of the stuff they found out about two Jerusalems, one in different locations, which is fascinating. But all this sort of stuff is amazing, because once you start opening your mind up, as you said, start hearing things, then you have to validate them and have to check them. But you've got scholars who've been doing a lot of hard work to find this out, rather than just taking what you're told.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's what I said to David when we spoke about Greg.
Yeah.
You know, most people, 99% of the planet, if not more, are probably now thinking, no, don't be so ridiculous. Okay, don't be so ridiculous. But when somebody comes to you with facts, you then start to think, well, maybe, and the I suppose the dial starts to move then, doesn't it? You know, where you start thinking, well, what if, maybe, possibly, you know?
The interesting thing with that particular matter was I was talking to a number of spiritualist people who are on the different spiritual levels, and they all said the same thing.
Okay.
He's not the solution, but he's part of the solution.
Yeah.
And one of the spiritual leaders said to me yesterday, do you know what? He may well be the part that gets us to question the royal family in its standing right now. That may be his role. The one thing that I've always hung on to is with Greg is the fact that, he may not be the bloodline, but nor was the Queen.
Sure.
He's German, or German descent, the Saxon Colbourne family. But they changed their name to Windsor. He may not be the bloodline. He may be the spiritual line. And this we don't know. And this is what he is saying, that he's getting the spiritual signs. He's getting the signs and what have you. Who knows? All I've done is given him the platform to show his side and to question it, rather than to say, no, it's not possible. You said this, you said this. No, what I've done is provided a platform for him. And with respect, he's done an awful lot of research, and he's submitted his documents through the courts, the common law courts.
Yep.
And every single judge at those courts has stamped the documents, and they've all been submitted. And he's done the second submission as well. So I'll still give him the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to establish the other day that he's not, because people were pointing out, well, he's not the official bloodline. No, he's not. But nor was the Queen, nor is Queen Elizabeth. So it's important to close, as you go down a corridor, to close each door. Because those doors were swinging like that further back, and people were going, what about this? What about this? I don't know what about it. At the moment, I'm still 50-50. I'm neither one way or t'other.
Yeah, well, I said that to David. Okay, in the beginning, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Blinkers off.
Yeah.
Let's see the facts. And obviously, you can't make a decision on information you've seen.
Correct.
Without understanding the information you've seen.
Correct.
Okay, it's like when I showed you my medal. Okay, it's like, oh, that's incredible. Okay, so let me just share with you the history behind it.
Correct.
Let me share with you the poignancy.
Sure.
People know what I did. People know how I did it. But lots of people want to know why.
Yeah, sure.
All of a sudden, there's value behind the information. And that's exactly what I've been doing with Greg.
Yeah.
As I said to David, it is learning more to understand it more. So when it does happen, and I really want it to happen, I'll be prepared.
There's certainly questions there, Mark, because we all know that the COVID-19 coronavirus was downgraded to nothing more than the flu in March. That's still very clear. That hasn't been adjusted on the government website of the United Kingdom, the American government website, the CDC, or the WHO. It's on all their websites as downgraded to nothing more than the flu.
Yep.
So we know that factually. We also know factually that the Queen has moved out of Buckingham Palace. What reason? We don't know. But I'm asking the question, why? Why, if it's for coronavirus, it's nothing more than you wouldn't move out of Buckingham Palace just for a common cold.
No, and I would assume that Buckingham Palace, having been there 3 times, is a pretty secure place.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Then you'd have to ask yourself why Harry and Meghan left in such a hurry. There's a number of things you'd have to ask, and these are things I don't know the answer to.
I think
but I'm asking the question. Sorry.
The one thing that made me chuckle was the Prince Charles body double.
Yes.
What the hell was all that about?
That was made in China, wasn't it?
I don't know, but I saw it and I was like, really?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few of the body doubles that were made on a Friday afternoon in China, I think. I love the Joe Biden one that fell asleep in the interview. Somebody nicked his batteries. But look, there's certain things I know and I can't say. But the one thing that is for sure is that the people that are behind the scenes that are control, because obviously Donald Trump is totally 100% in control right now. Make no bones about it. He's 100% in control. But he's got some naughty people in his team that are playing with their social media of the people that have been arrested.
Oh, okay.
So, well, you can tell by some of the social media comments that are coming out that it's not done by them. It's a little bit naughty.
Right.
They're exposing them as being, they're making some, what you go, really? Would you really say that, something that silly? Even the defund the police thing I was in fits of laughter when they started doing that. And the fact that people are falling for it, it's just like, they're creating the riots and they're going for this defund the police, which is not, but it's somebody being naughty.
But isn't it funny how people become programmed very quickly? Okay. Years ago, in the 60s and 70s, you would question things that almost seemed impossible.
Yeah.
Okay. You would dismiss it. Whereas these days you see something, whether it's CGI, whether it's, I don't know, Photoshop, you see things and you almost want to believe it.
I couldn't agree more. It's like somebody showed me this the other day, which was quite funny, which I can look like I'm in San Francisco now.
Exactly.
And I'm like, really? Or I can be on the beach.
See, I know you're not on the beach because your hair's not blowing in the wind.
Exactly. Or I could be back in my office. And the minute I saw that, I was like, really? And they said, you can do this on Zoom. And I was like, wow. Yeah,
that's my point. We've almost been programmed through history, okay, probably from the 30s, maybe even before, with everything that's gone on, probably even before that. If you go back to Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, all the way back, 100 and 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're in a position where the human brain almost doesn't question it anymore.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
Because you believe what you see.
Yeah.
And that goes back, just to finish on the London Games, the whole world was watching.
Yeah.
How many people watched the opening ceremony? Okay. Yeah. Probably hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
And yet nobody knew what they were watching.
Sure, exactly right.
Apart from a very small minority.
Yeah.
Who probably had their blinkers off then.
Exactly. Well, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Exactly. And I suppose the more we know now, it just fires you up to share it more.
Yeah.
And that's what I said just now about you scaling up, the outfit you have with the people you have, and I just if I can, I'd offer my help to help you, to help David, Lee, to start to share what is true.
Exactly, and it's the reason the numbers have grown so quickly is in a world full of lies, the truth is actually quite refreshing.
Well, there's always 3 stories, isn't there? There's your story, my story, and the truth.
Exactly right. And a point that I make quite a bit is the Mediterranean and the Burj Khalifa. The Mediterranean from my house looks beautiful. But from a diver's perspective, it's exactly the same body of water, but completely different.
Yeah.
And the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, with the sun on it on one side is amazing, with the shade on the other, looks a completely different building. And yet it's the same building. So we can all have different perspectives, and they can both be right.
Yes.
But
I think in terms of the security and the safety of humanity, okay, like obviously you've got a young family, you know, and obviously I've got a daughter.
Yeah.
And my fear is not of the next generation, but the generation after that.
Sure.
Because, you know, the young children who are growing up, imagine being 8 or 10 this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your head's going to be fried, you know?
Justin's 11 and he's been watching everything I do.
But you're lucky, and he's lucky that he has somebody there to explain the detail.
Yeah.
So he understands.
Yeah.
Millions and millions of people out there don't know what's going on. They don't understand. How can you console a child, educate a child on what's going on when you don't even know yourself?
Well, I got fed up with it, but I just learned to accept it. When he goes to school, the teachers refuse to give him a cuddle unless he wears a mask, and he doesn't wear a mask.
Wow.
So they said, well, you can't have a cuddle at school. And I said, that's fine. When you get home, you can have 2 cuddles.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But he's been converting the kids, but a couple of the kids have been blackmailed by the teachers because the teachers give them all a hug at the start of the day. And they said, we can't give you a hug because you haven't got a mask on. And you just go, okay. The headmaster's fine about it, but you've got the Spanish teachers that are so brainwashed, they can't see it. But it's amazing how they're blackmailing the children at school, and that should never happen.
No, 100%. Definitely not. You know, definitely not. But that goes back to what I just said about even, you know, human beings, adults being programmed.
Yeah.
You know, because they've been used to being programmed all their life.
Sure.
And they don't know any different. So it's a big shame. And I think it's so exciting moving into October. Yeah. As you said, perturbation's going to start to happen. The pressure's on with everything that's going on. And the video I watched the other day with Donald Trump, basically, apart from saying it, he basically said, well, the gloves are now off.
Yep.
You know?
I get told he uses certain codes that for those of us that know what he's talking about. And if he goes onto Twitter and puts law and order,
okay,
it means he's just arrested another major player.
No way.
Yeah. I've known that for 5 months. Yeah.
Wow.
So every time he puts law and order on Twitter, we know he's arrested somebody else that's major.
Wow.
He doesn't tell us who.
I was going to say, yeah, and he's done it quite regularly the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, there's been some major arrests. But those sort of things for us are very, very exciting. The most exciting one for me was when I was talking to one of the boys and they said about something that was going on. And he said, well, if he's managed to achieve what he's managed to achieve, he'll mention your son's name in his speech tonight.
And what's your son's name?
Justin. And he walked out on stage and he said, I've got some news just in.
No way.
And I sat there and a shiver went down my spine.
Wow, that is powerful, man.
It was so powerful, and you get very, very excited, and you have to control your emotions. Because I'm sat there thinking there's no way that he can put Justin into a conversation. It's not that sort of name. And he said,
no.
Was that with a piece of paper? I've got some news just in. It was about the employment figures.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Yeah. The excitement, it gives me a massive, massive lift when you know that certain signs are coming along.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is from the team that I'm working with, they will tell me 24, 48 hours before he says something what he's going to say. And then when he says it, then from my point of view, it gives me strength, especially up against the haters.
Yeah. It gives you belief.
Dig.
Yeah. Gives you belief, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
Yeah.
It keeps you focused. It keeps you positive. As I've often said, there's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. Yeah,
very true. And I think this year, this is what I said earlier on. We've had such an exponential improvement in information.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have all this exposure to information.
Yeah.
You know, the turnaround with what's going on would have probably taken 10 years.
Exactly.
You know, when you think about it. So yeah, it's very exciting. You know, very exciting indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too. It's been a pleasure and an honor to meet you. It really has.
I'll tell my mother that.
100%. What you've achieved, Mark, you know, this should inspire every single person that's watching this. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've got the will to win, you can win. And Mark didn't just win, he won gold. And he didn't just win gold, he won it at the home Olympics. And that's incredible, Mark.
Yeah, and I think the great thing for many people watching this, you know, watching this video back, or maybe listening to it on a podcast, wherever you share it, Charlie, is the important thing, as I said, is just to be open-minded. Okay, always question the impossible.
Yeah.
The impossible can be possible.
Yeah.
And it's such a privilege to have competed at the home games.
Yeah, sure.
Part of history, and now utilizing, I suppose, what I've gone through to help other people to overcome any trauma or change in their life.
Sure.
You know,
exactly.
Because, you know, change will always happen.
Yeah.
You know, in our lifetime and probably many years to come. So I just wanted to say thank you. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll be able to chat again.
100%, 100%, because you're an inspiration, man. You know, what you've done is unbelievable, but it's possible.
Yes.
The unbelievable is possible.
Exactly. You know, so I just keep my fingers crossed now for November the 3rd.
Yeah.
No doubt there's probably going to be a few ripples that's going to come with it. But, you know, all good things take time, as we know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charlie.
So here he is, the man of the moment earlier, winning gold, and we can see him now picking up that medal. Let's rejoin Phil Liggett.
To an enormous cheer, Mark Colbourne steps up on to the podium. His race number 42 matches his age, and from a broken back in a paragliding incident, he's come to the Olympic Games in the Paras here to win gold for Great Britain, and I'm quite sure in particular for Wales and his family. Mum said she wasn't coming, but apparently she has turned up in the stadium, and this is a historic moment.
Yeah, I was got a shock when his father passed away just before he took his World Championship to the runners here. So this for him is a really big day. He said he was going to dedicate this medal to his late father, Cecil.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.